5:01. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting online. The public may access the meeting through the telephone or video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments at the end. This meeting is being recorded. Hello, everybody. Let me just close this. Okay. Oh, Commissioner Paredes, I see you now. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Good to see you all.
So we just began the, we just started the meeting. The first item is the approval of the agenda, right?
Meeting minutes.
Oh, the minutes. I made a couple of amendments to the agenda, but I send them online, so I'm just gonna tell people here. I changed the number of meetings from 3 to 2, the votes, sorry, the number of votes. And I asked that the report from the chair and the report from the executive director are separated. So those were my only corrections. Anybody has any corrections? Any amendments? No? I need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the amended minutes as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, everybody in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, anybody opposed? And they're not abstentions, so minutes are approved. And let's go to the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Second that. I'll second that.
Okay. Everybody in favor of approving the agenda, please say hi or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? No. Agenda is approved. Susie, would you like to start with your report?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. I have a relatively brief report. So I'm just going to go through that so that we can get into the discussions about the priorities and goals. So first and foremost, regarding staff trainings, we have completed the mediation training that I spoke about in the last meeting, and we have also completed the public accommodation discrimination training offered by the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination. So both of those have been completed. I do not have any upcoming trainings planned, but I am trying to research to find what other trainings we should be getting into. So if any of you have any ideas, I welcome them. That's my staff trainings. Well, the highlight my week has been our new staff member started this week. She will be joining us momentarily just to introduce herself, but Denise Dos Santos is our education outreach manager. And I've already put her to work, but thankfully she's happy. So she did start this week. So I have been onboarding her and just kind of getting her caught up on what we have so far, my kind of visions with future projects and where I would need her help. So it's really exciting to me. And the other items I have, they're still kind of in progress, so I don't really have like actual updates on them. In the previous meeting, I had mentioned the city, the IT department here in the city wanting to put together an ethics commission or a committee or coalition. So I met with the IT department yesterday just to kind of provide my feedback on like the mission and members and what it should look like. So unfortunately, I can't share anything and it's still in preliminary discussions, but I can tell you that this is something they're very, very interested in and pushing forward. So I am very happy about that because this is very needed. So that's kind of in progress, just meeting with them still. Additionally, the anti-hate campaign is still in progress where I'm trying to further develop and define it. Especially now with Denise coming on, really having her sit down to, okay, what is a feasible timeline look like for this? What would the budget look like for this? Who are partners in this? But I will just say that just like for clarity purposes on what I'm having this look like, I don't really want to call it a campaign because it's not like a campaign in the traditional sense. I'm just calling it that because I cannot figure out another name at the moment. But this anti-hate campaign is an education and outreach campaign. So there's the research component of it where we have our interns who are in the next meeting will be providing presentations on the research that they've been doing regarding anti-hate. So there's a research component of this campaign. The outreach is going to be more of the resource guide. Can we put a list of resources together? Because we have seen a lot of the feedback that I'm getting from individuals is, oh, I can only go to the police. Like the police is my only resource and not knowing where else they can go. So the outreach portion of it is, okay, what does the resource guide look like? What else do we need? Like, what else could we do to really bring awareness to like your rights and what can come after that? And then the education portion of it. So the education portion of it is literally doing a know your rights training. So that's, for example, like I said in the last meeting, I have solidified an educational kind of partnership with U.S. Attorney Rachel Rowland's office. She currently has a presentation defining what a hate crime is, what a hate incident is, how that differs from discrimination. And then the best way I can describe it is giving an example. So one of the areas that I want to get into is senior centers. So first and foremost, reaching out to the Age Strong Commission here, Emily Shea, who leads the Age Strong Commission here, seeing which senior center will be best to provide a training session to. How would that training look like? Is it in person? Is it virtual? And then having a targeted presentation. So while we give the definition of a hate crime, a hate incident, discrimination, also giving a training on frauds against seniors. And then using that same format in different areas. So whether that, so I've come up with 4, so Faith Center, high school, senior centers, and veteran centers. Those are the ones I've identified right now. So now I'm just kind of in the process of, okay, so for the senior center, I've solidified that with the U.S. Attorney's Office. What about faith centers? Like reaching out to the faith liaison we have here in the city to figure out where exactly it should be held, what organization maybe has like a specific presentation or kind of educational know your rights kind of teaching. And that's where the education part of it comes. So research, outreach, and education. So now it just comes into really solidifying a timeline. So my goal and hope is to start them in January. And then it just comes into, okay, do we do 1 a month? Do we do 2 a month? What do the training sessions look like? Are we able to have resource tables at the training so organizations can come and show their resources? So that's kind of my thought process and what's I've been working through, and with Denise coming on now, working with her together on really solidifying and formalizing that plan. Yes, Commissioner?
I was wondering, Susie, if you are going to be reaching out to groups like Fenway Community Health and other organizations and offering these services to them. I think it's great offering it at senior services centers, but I think that perhaps if we offer it to different community-based organizations, that could probably reach people that wouldn't ordinarily come to a meeting.
Absolutely, and I don't know if I said it, but the educational training sessions are open to the public, so you don't have to be a senior to come to this training. But I am trying to make sure that I'm very intentional about the training session. So making sure I kind of like hit it from every angle I can when it comes to anti-hate. So I do want to hit it from some sort of like health angle. But what that looks like, I'm not sure, but I am working, Denise and I will be working on kind of formulating a list of organizations that need to be involved. And then, okay, when it comes to health, who are the organizations that are involved with health resources that need to be a part of this?
There are certainly a lot of community health centers that probably would welcome this.
Absolutely, and I'll do my best with sharing organizations that I'm thinking to put into this, but I also encourage just sending me anyone that you might know that you feel need to be at the table. So I'm not missing anyone.
Susie, do you still have that list? I don't know, back when we first were reestablished, I put together a huge Excel spreadsheet
Yes.
of organizations.
I totally forgot about that. I do have that. Thank you.
I was just going to jump into piggyback on that. And then this might have been partly what you already meant. And so apologies if I'm repeating anything. I thought in addition also to like who should be on the other side of these presentations, like listening into them about resources, is thinking about who else should be part of the actual presentation as well. Just, I think I've mentioned this a few times, and sorry, I'm going to probably harp on it, several times, is just being careful and us centering law enforcement in some of these conversations. Again, especially, I work with immigrant communities, and, it's just, it could also turn people off from showing up to some of these spaces if that's who's leading or centering some of these conversations. And I know we're talking about, crime versus, discrimination. And so we may have to think like creatively of what that would look like, but we may want to at least give some thought to that. And now, like you said, that we have someone hired in the offices to support those efforts, maybe think creatively of what are some community groups out there who are addressing some of these hate crimes or, related things that are happening in the community. So I just want to reiterate that so that we can continue to try to, make that part of the conversation as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the outcomes or the results of the outreach and the research and the education component. Do you have kind of clarity around what the intended results are? And if so, could you use that? I've used the logic model as a way to kind of develop programming or new strategies, and it can directly tie the outcomes to the activities. Just wondering if that's something that you've used, or if that's a tool that I can offer.
Definitely a tool you can offer. I'm more coming at it from like the research is to bring awareness to the numbers, to the data, where is there underreporting, where are we missing like the gaps in the data. The education part of it is strictly trying to teach residents what their rights are. And like, that's like the simplest way I can put it. Cause again, I'm running into too many individuals that I'm having to explain to them what's a crime and what's an incident, and how like a hate crime is different from like a discrimination, and then what their resources are after that. And I think that's where I'm coming from, the no, you need to know your rights so that you can empower yourself to stand up for yourself and not just to rely on, oh, I only thought it was 911. Oh, I only thought I could get an attorney. Because those are not the only resources.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll
So,
definitely follow up with that.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Evans makes a very good point. If we're doing this, it would be interesting to ask people if we're seeing an uptick in people reporting things to us, where they heard about it, and then we can see if the outreach efforts are working. If they came to a workshop and now they know to report it to us, it would be very good data to have to see what impact we're making.
Just so I'm understanding, like when they fill out a form, where did they hear about our office? Is that where you're?
No, yes, ask them how they knew about it, because, did you attend
Oh,
a
okay. I
Know
see what
Your
you're saying.
Rights training?
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. I'm just going to interject for a second, just because Denise is on the call and I would like her to introduce herself a little bit. Because again, I'm super excited and I know she probably is already annoyed with me on week 1. But I am very excited. I just want her to get a chance to introduce herself. Hi, Denise.
Good evening, everyone. I've been listening in on the other end. I've been shaking my head and stuff, though.
So everyone, this is Denise Dos Santos. She is our education outreach manager. Denise, I don't know if you want to just give a little background about who you are, where you come from.
Well, my name is Denise. Thank you, Susie. I'm excited to be in this role. I'll just tell you guys the reason why, because I'm super passionate. I'm a Dorchester kid, born and raised. Prior to this role, I was the Mid-Dorchester / Cape Verdean community liaison for the city. So I've been with the city for 3 years now. I've been trying to get into this role just because it's like, just being, just working within the city, I noticed that a lot of resources that the city does provide, like a lot of demographics within the city don't know about them. So I do come from that outreach background, and like Commissioner Evans mentioned, like as far as tracking a metric in some way, which does like make perfect sense. So then you kind of know like, okay, this is what's working for us or what's not. So I am excited to just work with Susie on like this and you guys as a whole, just to kind of get the information out to the neighborhood, really.
Thank you so much, Denise. I will say on the note that was the end of my report, just because everything is in progress. So I don't have any definitive updates, but they are in progress and I'm very excited. That does conclude the end of my report. I don't know if anyone else has any questions or remarks, but that's it for my end.
Okay, so let's welcome Denise. And I don't know if you remember, but you were my rep, my neighborhood rep. I live in Dorchester Center, nearby. Anyway, my report is going to be brief because I think the most important part today is that we discuss the goals. Before doing that, I'm going to acknowledge that I see somebody from OPAT as our attendee, and I appreciate that interest. Very quickly, several of us attended an open forum on Monday, the Monday of this week, on hate crimes and identity-based attacks in the city of Boston. It was well attended. We had a nice presence. We listened and took many notes, and it made it clear to me that it is especially important that individual commissioners go into the community as commissioners, listen as commissioners, and report back to us as a group. That it's not necessarily enough to hear from City Hall, although it's very, very important. Or it's not necessarily enough to hear from Boston Police Department, although it is important. However, Councillor Louis-Jean told me at the beginning, and I am going to share with you, that she has filed a motion to review the commission's ordinance. I don't know exactly what that means, but I want you to be aware of that. This is not something that I know. So the work of the, my last point, the work of the interns is going very well. We will be presenting in December, and the presentation will have both data and recommendations for discussions, and possibly for recommendations by the commission to City Hall regarding hate incidents in the city of Boston. So let's go on with our discussion, so we can then in next month deal with the research. That without that research, it is really not possible to start making policy recommendations. So
Very quickly, can I just ask
Yep.
a question on the point of, you said the review of the ordinance is, do you know if we're gonna get more information on that at some point, and if there's gonna be any openings to offer any thoughts on that process or what it would potentially look like? Yeah, just wondering.
I can tell you that I told the counselor that I would hope that she would contact me, and that after the day after the meeting, I wrote an email to her, again extending an invitation that she talks to me if she needs to, but we could also invite her to a meeting if we would like to have an open discussion, which I don't know if that's what we want to do. But that's what I did. Yes, I did. I did ask her that she includes us or talk to us and inform us of what the goals are, etc.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, it'd be nice to just be up to date to what's going on there. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Commissioner, who would be doing the review? Would it be a subcommittee of the Boston City Council, or do we know that?
I don't know who review ordinances. I suppose that it would be the city council.
It would be the city councilors. So I will say I did not know about the filing yet because I haven't received notice of it. But the kind of process with it is they will file a hearing or an ordinance like this. I become notified of the date, and then it is an open hearing where they discuss it. Which I will obviously all share with you all if you want to come
Absolutely.
and provide testimony, but I have not been notified yet, or I might have missed it, so that's on me, but I don't believe I have been notified yet. But once I receive that information, I will happily send it to you all.
Any other questions? Then I know that Councilor, now I'm making you city councilor, Commissioner Rousseau. I know that you you have some updates. Go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to two separate things. I just wanted to talk about recent grants that were awarded. As you probably all know, that the digital divide was the commission's _1 priority when we were first reconstituted, and we did studies about the issues of disparity in access to computers and internet between the different neighborhoods of Boston. We held several meetings and heard from nonprofit organizations such as Tech Goes Home, as well as the city's own Department of Innovation and Technology, Boston Public Schools, Boston Housing Authority. And we also held 2 hearings where we heard from residents' experiences with digital inequities in the city, and also from broadband providers such as Comcast, Verizon, and Starry. And then we had, we had a great PhD candidate from UMass Boston who conducted research and produced reports, which laid out the difference in the disparities in the level of broadband speed between different neighborhoods in the city and other things. Well, recently Comcast announced that it will invest more than $500,000 in grants to 17 organizations to support digital access and adoption for residents across Greater Boston. And among those recipients was Tech Goes Home. And that money is going to be used to fund to create digital navigators, which will then be affiliated with trusted community organizations that will train people on access to internet and help them acquire digital skills. And so it's, I think it's great news for Tech Goes Home. They did the investment because of a nationwide study that the Boston Consulting Group did, and that found that digital navigators are critical to closing the digital divide and reducing socioeconomic inequalities by helping more people get online. And this study came up with results that won't surprise any of us. I don't think that that more than 65% of the survey respondents said they obtained internet access or a computer at home. And once they had these navigators, the amount of increase to that among Hispanic and Black Americans was 72%. And almost half of those surveyed said that they obtained better health care, they had received support with their basic needs, such as food, rent, or housing, and 1 in 3 had found a new job or earned a higher income. So it just points out the impact of what can be accomplished. And then in addition, Tech Goes Home received another grant from the Patrick McGovern Foundation, and that will help more of their participants actually obtain a computer. And they'll use some of that funding to evaluate their programs. So I thought that was very exciting news.
It's indeed very important, and there is some movement. Also, Tech Goes Home got some ARPA money in addition to that. So we are moving a little bit, although $500,000 for Comcast is like a $2 thing.
Yes.
But they are moving in the right direction.
The other thing, if you will indulge me, I just wanted to point out that November is Trans Awareness Month. And I think it is extremely important that the Human Rights Commission not only acknowledge this, but for us to develop a more robust response to incidents of hate that occur in the city, including outreach to victims. You may or may not know that on November 8th, an employee at Ula Cafe, which is in Jamaica Plain, was a target of transphobic hate. An individual went into the establishment and verbally assaulted her. And then just on Wednesday, once again, bomb threats were made against children's hospitals, programs for transgender youth, and alleged bombs were placed at the homes of 3 doctors. And transgender and non-gender conforming people are experiencing more and more incidents of not only verbal assault, but acts of violence. And in 2022, across the country, we've had already 32 transgender people fatally shot or killed by violent means. And we know that that number is probably low because many instances go unreported or misreported, and most of those, the majority of those murders have been of Black and Latinx transgender women. And also, November 20th is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, the annual observance that honors the memory of transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of transgender violence. And I'm hoping that the Human Rights Commission can be part of reaching out to local organizations, finding out who are organizing events, and also have a presence at these events.
Just to add to what the commissioner was saying, there is a vigil that happens, every Trans Day of Remembrance, and it will be held on this Sunday at the First Baptist Church in Jamaica Plain at 2:00. So if anyone would like to attend, I will be in attendance. Again, that's the First Baptist Church in Jamaica Plain. It's on Center Street.
Commissioner Valentine, what time?
It's at 2 p.m. And we will be honoring and celebrating the lives of folks we've lost this year, as well as having basically just being together as a community. So there will be food and drinks so people can, get together and, just be together.
Very good. Commissioner Rousseau, are you, I think that the timeline is too short to have a statement put forward and voted and read at that event, but we can certainly do one and circulate it and send it to the appropriate organizations if that's okay, and post it
Yes.
on our website. So let me do this and put a motion forward that the Boston Human Rights Commission's rights statement and post it, make it public, and send it to the appropriate organizations regarding transgender violence and hate crimes in the city of Boston and our position. I need a second for that.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Everybody in favor, please say aye or raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. So I think Susie and I can get to work on the statement and pass it to all of you, put it on the website, etc. I am going to do my best to be at JP at 2 p.m. JP Baptist Church this Sunday at 2 p.m.
And can I
Okay.
make an added statement to that? Is, if possible, maybe including an invitation in that letter for those organizations or groups that would like to connect or partner with the Boston Human Rights Commission. That way there's like a little bit of an potential action item that comes out of it.
Absolutely, that's perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Commissioner Russo. If there is nothing else, we can pass to the discussion of our tentative goals for the year that starts in January. And in the minutes, we circulated my notes on the meeting, and it appeared from my notes that they were potentially 4 goals or 4 items to discuss. I would like to share with you what I've cleaned them up a little bit and hopefully made them a little more appealing or clear. Let's see. Can you all see them?
Yes, we can.
Yes, Commissioner, yes.
Okay, so can you see the whole page, or is it only me who is not seeing the whole page? Okay, here we go. Okay.
There you go.
If you can read, and we can discuss one by one if you would like to, or we can discuss them, all of them. These are the 4 issues that came out of our conversations in September, October. One was recommendations on hate crimes and bias incidents, and this was mainly, is already going on with the research that the interns are carrying on, and it will end up by with a series of recommendations from the interns and myself in 2 groups, one in December and one in May. The second one was the increase in commissioner active presence in local communities. And this would be our actions as individuals who choose to be active in the communities and as a part of the Human Rights Commission. I guess I have 2 number 1s and 1 number 2. So this will be number 3. Number 2, that is number 3, continue monitoring Boston police reform. And the last one, number 4, would be the U visas, which was an item that Commissioner Paredes brought up. I don't know if it's going to be, if you think that it should be a goal, but it was an item that was clearly brought up. So I wanted to present the 4, what appears to be 3 goals and an item, and open the discussion among all of you about what you think. If you think these are appropriate, do they represent our discussions? I leave it up to you.
Well, I certainly think after attending the meeting the other night, that goal number 2 is extremely important.
Mhm.
During that meeting, people were unaware that there was a Human Rights Commission. They were unaware that there was a way that they could report hate crimes, not to the police, but to the Human Rights Commission. And I think it's I'm very glad that Denise has joined us, because we really need to be more present at meetings that are happening. And also, I think that if there is something happening in the community, if we could be made aware of it and be present actually out in the community, that would also be very important. One young gentleman asked me for a card, and I said, I don't have a Human Rights Commission card, but if there's something that we can have so that we're out with people, no matter in whatever, day or night, whatever, that we can hand to someone so that they do have that information, I think that would also be important.
I've had the same issue with the card. I've been asked. I think in this case, it would be not only that we are informed as a group that there is an event such as tonight, but also that we know that there is such an event as individuals, and we go and then we come back and report to the commission about what incident or what event, what forum, which group we connected with, what are their needs, what did we hear from them, did they know us, do they want to establish a closer communication, closer communication with us, etc.
I'll just chime in real quick. Yeah, this looks really good. I think it definitely reflects our conversations. And yeah, I just appreciate your incorporating some of the new things that came up last time, particularly around immigration that Commissioner Paredes brought up. Is the idea that I mean, number 2 definitely feels like something we should all kind of be advancing. Is the idea that we kind of divide the other ones up, or are we all kind of working unanimously on all of the goals to advance them? Just wondering.
Well, I'll explain a little bit number 1, because number 1 requires that we see the research that has been done. Then, so the research is done by researchers, and then we as commissioners need to discuss that research, what it means, and if that should lead the commission to make certain recommendations regarding hate events and bias in the city of Boston. So that has 2 parts: the research we don't do, or the research the commissioners don't carry it out, but they have the possibility of acting on that research, the results. Number 2, it's up to each commissioner, obviously, how active in the community the commissioner is. But I think I understand that Denise is a blessing to this commission, but she's only one person. So the outreach and the representing of the Human Rights Commission needs to be also helped by each one of us, by going to events, talking to people, listening to communities. And the goal on that would be to establish direct contact, contact that not necessarily is mediated by City Hall or by Boston Police Department or by Boston School Committee, or direct contact with communities that could then eventually lead to those communities coming to the commission with ideas and goals. At least that's how I would envision that kind of active presence of commissioners in the communities. The monitoring of Boston police reform, this is something we need to, I heard a lot of interest, but I didn't see anything concrete, specific. So I went into looking into the commission had done last year, and the commission had a report and a progress card of sorts. And if we want to continue that work, or at least monitor Boston police reform, we would have to probably have a student on the second semester working on those 2 and seeing what is different now from last year. But also, I think we could reach out to OPAT and have them come and report about what they are doing, their own progress, because last year they were barely working, they were very new and they didn't have enough members. And so I'm sure there is a lot of updates. In fact, I read their report for this year, for 2022. And in their report, they mentioned that they are going to be working with us. But I don't recall us ever talking to them about that. So I'm not sure about that one. But they intend to reach out, obviously. So that would be something that would take the work of a researcher partially, and then it would have to take a series of meetings, open meetings like this one, where we have guests. And yes, then all commissioners will work on this, if that's what we want. The U visa part, I think, is something that as an item to explore this possibility, Commissioner Paredes can take this on, and because he knows what a U visa is. And if indeed there are other human rights commissions that have done that, they are much larger. We only have 3 staff members in the commission, so this would require, if it's done, the collaboration of several agencies. But so this is something that Commissioner Paredes, who knows about this, could explore and then could report to us and help us understand how things could be done. Commissioner, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in with that too, because I'm curious to hear everyone else's thought on this. I did throw it out there as an idea last time and said that I'm willing to kind of start looking into that, and I've kind of started that process, having some communication with folks, and so I hope to have more of an update on that. There are commissions, one of them was in the report, that you all put together, I think last year in New York. And I had heard potentially about another one, I think out of Chicago as well. So I'm trying to get more detail so I could come back and then also review our mandate, and review kind of where the new law that was passed, I believe last year around visa certifications in Massachusetts is at, and just see, what opportunities are there. But, one thing I wanted to say is obviously this U visa one is pretty specific, right? And so a lot of it depends on whether it's possible to do something like this, or if it would be a longer process of having to, for example, to change our mandate or to grow as, an office or commission, etc. So one other idea I wanted to put out there as well was, do folks, I guess, think that this is, on one end, I think it's good that it's narrow because it's something more feasible, right? We could say like, okay, this is the goal, and by the end of next year, how far along are we in accomplishing that? But on the other end, there's other possibilities too that I was, I guess, brainstorming about. One of those was around exploring where things stand in terms of municipal voting for immigrants with different statuses, I think. And then related to that is the involvement of immigrants with different statuses as part of different commissions in Boston. I'm not sure, again, I think it would take a little bit of review, or maybe someone already knows whether there's any impediments right now for someone who's a non-citizen to be part of a commission or a board or something like that. And if so, those are other opportunities, I guess, in the immigration space to explore if we want to have any involvement in that. So yeah, I guess, I'm just throwing it out there for ideas and some thoughts that came up for myself. But I'm happy to stick with this if this is what everyone agrees to, or to think a little bit more broadly as well.
If I may offer a suggestion, it seems like I do agree that I love the specific, the U visa goal being very specific. But I do think that there's a lot of kind of like questions around, like you said, like, in our ordinance, does it allow us to do it? What does it look like? What is the process? More getting into like what a U visa is. And for the Boston, monitoring the Boston police reform, I would like to reach out to Stephanie Everett, the executive director over at OPAT, just to see what they've got going on, to see how we can partner with them, because they are tasked with making sure the recommendations that came out of the task force were implemented. So my suggestion is kind of hearing and figuring that out first before we vote, at least on the last two, just to get more clarity, and maybe even dedicating the next meeting specifically to those, because it seems like the first two are more clear cut and seems to be more consensus, but I could be wrong. Seems to be more consensus. seem to be agreed upon, the first two, and then the last two kind of needs more discussion and figure out and more detailed. That's just my 2 cents that I just kind of wanted to throw out there and see if anybody had feedback on that.
Well, I'd like to chime in a little bit. I don't mind either way, but I think it is important that we are independent from City Hall. So I understand that we need to talk to OPAT for to know what their progress is and that we can collaborate. But I also think that as an independent body, we have every right to continue monitoring Boston Police Department as we see fit. I do not know that we need to do it. I didn't bring this up, where other commissioners were interested. So in the interest of clarity, the ordinance doesn't say anything about us not being able to address number 3 or number 4. We are to work on human rights and issues of some issues of hate reporting will be touching on Boston police reform. So either way, I think we're going to find that we have to deal with Boston Police Department issues. And we shouldn't be afraid. We should not be afraid of doing that. I agree, however, that the first 2 are 2 goals that are low-hanging fruit. But I would like to discount 3 and 4 if that's what commissioners want to do.
Yeah, and
Commissioner
let me-
Evans, what? Oh, yep, go ahead.
I'll just add one clarifying point on the U visa stuff, and then I want to hear from others. But the reason I also thought about those other ideas was because just upon first impression of reading the mandate for this commission, it seems like there's residency requirements and voting requirements to be part of this commission. I assume that's the same for most commissions across the city, and so that excludes a lot of immigrants. And so that goal around expanding municipal voting and expanding access to commissions, I think lends to our goal as a human rights commission, so that immigrants can be part of these conversations and have a voice in it. And so that's why I wanted to pose that out there as kind of like potentially this broader idea, but this U visa one is something that I'm still completely open to exploring. Like I said, I already started having some of those conversations. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
I'll just jump in real quick, and I mean, definitely interested in police reform. I definitely feel like 1 and 2 are a little bit more straightforward. So I see that. What I hear is maybe we need a little bit more information on 3 and 4 before we can commit to it. And I mean, if there's this other, I have a question about what OPAT said for it. Obviously, I can look it up, but if there's another agency doing this work, it makes sense to coordinate just so we're not duplicating efforts. But to Madam Chairman's point, I think it's still a priority perhaps, and maybe we're just trying to figure out how we can have an impact without duplicating efforts. So yeah, that's just kind of how I see it.
I also, I think that 1 and 2, if we do them correctly, is going to give us a lot more work to do, shall I say, because it could open up more opportunity. Let me put it that way, more opportunities for us. And I guess just a realistic goal of how much time and it is a small staffed commission, and so I think other things might be revealed to us. But I also agree with Madam Chair that we were monitoring Boston Police and requesting them to tell us, if they were meeting their goals before OPAT got up and running. And I think we should not leave that alone, that we should keep our eyes on what's going on and making sure that that they're doing what they said they were doing in new patterns and not emerging. I'm concerned with what if all of a sudden more people getting pulled over that are immigrants because now they can have driver's license. So I want to, keep our eyes on those things also.
And I would just chime in on this point also that while they've created an office for accountability, I think sometimes there's always a question of how the real world and politics collide and the outcome, what that's going to be. But I feel our role of being an outside commission is a standalone and should always have the ability to investigate and follow up. Furthermore, I think that there, as we do more outreach and engagement, there should be a way in which we can be an intake for members of the community. And I mean that in the largest context, to have concerns about the police department that we can not just bring to their internal intention, but that we can have a role in looking at as an outside piece. And I am concerned, and I do follow a lot of concern that other people have echoed, that the more the follow-up or investigative piece becomes compartmentalized and governmentalized, and people are getting paychecks in order to do this, and it becomes a whole nother entity, that oftentimes the outcome gets lost. And I do think that since we have more of a separate standalone piece, that just as we in previous meetings have brought up bringing in the police commissioner, and I met him at a social function, I gave him a heads up that we are looking forward to engaging with him, because there's a lot of questions I think that we have about some of the stuff that happened over the summer. While it was before his watch, there's an expectation that there should be some ability to articulate where the ball was dropped. And as we're seeing that this is going to be becoming an ongoing issue, I think that they should speak in a public forum, and that can be us or a hearing or whatnot, to discuss that more in depth. So again, I'm very concerned if we ever try to push back or drop our usurp the authority to investigate them. So now that there's a separate office that again is still new and still kind of unproven and such. So just a concern that I wanted to raise.
Commissioner Valentine?
I'm looking at this and I'm in support of every single one of these. So you can definitely, I'm behind all of these, absolutely. I think it is definitely important for us to continue to be monitoring police reform for exactly the reasons the commissioner mentioned. And also thinking about, like us being a resource for the community. Even though OPAT exists, how would the community really trust? I think because there is already mistrust and very valid reasons for mistrust. And so the community needs to have somewhere a place of accountability that they can trust. And I believe that this commission is that. So I think it's very important for us to continue to be doing that work.
Okay, so we can do this different ways. We can vote them all today. We can decide to go around another time. How would you like to do this? We can take 1 and 2. We can. Do you feel that this is that you would like to move to approve these as our goals?
I'd move it to put this as our framework or as our working goals, using the word working goals, knowing that we can critique them slightly as they go along. But I think this is a very good conceptual framework for us to start planning the year going forward and coming up with a list of hearings in addition to meetings that follow each strand of the priorities. So that I know sometimes what happens is we'll spend several meetings in a row talking about one item, which means that other items don't get the same attention. So if we start looking at a framework so that we can deal with multiple items as we're moving along conceptually in the same time frame, so that we're not slowing down our important agenda or our work because of logistics. So I think that this gives us a very good framework to start saying, okay, January, we're going to have a hearing on number 2. February, we're going to have number 1. We, boom, 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 and we can have meetings and plannings and such around that conceptual framework. So I support this and would put a motion forward that we, again, as presented, a conceptual framework working for the year going forward.
I'll second that.
Okay, so a motion has been put forward and seconded, and we're gonna proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. Okay.
I have one question. I tend to have a lot of questions. One was just to clarify that suggestion. Would the suggestion be to leave it as a framework throughout the year, or at some point circle back to voting on it? Just wanted to clarify what you meant by that, and also, and then I'll just add my addition that for at least for that last piece of visa, the immigration stuff, I'll try to have more details by next time, so that if there needs to be any changes to it, or if folks start feeling differently about it, then we could revisit that. But I'll commit to having some more information next time.
So don't worry, Commissioner. These would be for the year. So it's not, it would be for the year. So we would go December, we already have the interns presenting, and then in the next few months we can do more. The last item, the U visa, it's worded as exploring the possibility. So it's not worded as we are going to be adopting, but as Commissioner Paredes is going to study this, and then is going to make recommendations and help us see through these things. So we are not committing to pass anything, but we are only committing to exploring it and taking it seriously. And who knows, sometimes when we do this, we will be approaching organizations that in turn will help us and give us information that is very valuable about immigration, and establish direct communication with community. Again, I think that is a very, very important thing to do for commissioners independently of City Hall, to have our own channels of information. And of course, also use City Hall channels. Did I answer the question, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the sharing. At this point, I would like to ask the public whether there is any question for the commission, for the commissioners.
Commissioner Evans, I just wanted to answer your question that you put in the chat. Yes, any edits or changes that are made to a motion that was already voted on needs to basically be re-voted on. So edits and changes need to be re-voted, just to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. I assumed that, but thank you for confirming.
Of course.
Okay, so if there is nothing else, thank you so very much. It is 6:06 when we are closing the meeting. thank you very much. Remember, there is an event at 2 p.m. on Sunday in JP Baptist Church. And if you know of other events where you think we should go, please pass the events to Susie or to me. I'll be very happy to attend as many meetings as I possibly can and connect with people. It would be good, Susie, if we could have some kind of card or some kind of something that we can give to people to connect with us.
Yeah, I will work on that. So here at City Hall, they gave us digital cards, so I don't even have
Mhm.
paper cards. They gave us digital cards.
That's fine. That's
Uh,
fine.
But I will definitely look into that and get back to you. And then just to flag for everyone, our next meeting is set for December 15th. Just to make everyone aware. Of course, I will send an email with the meeting minutes and the date. Just confirm your attendance, getting back to me, but it is set for December 15th.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Be safe, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.